On this Painting Business Pro Show, I'm super excited to share with you a story from Carl and Andrew Wood. So it's a father and son duo who started their painting business in October of 2023. They're about 10 to 11 months into the business. They're probably going to do 800 to a million this year in business. They're doing $20,000 to $30,000 a week now. And they've just got an amazing story because they didn't come from the painting business. They actually ran a Vax company during the heat of COVID after a long career as a pharmacist for Carl. And then when COVID died down, so did that business. And they were looking for something new. They went on an amazing hunt for a business to buy, and eventually they stumbled into the painting business. So they've got so many amazing insights. So if you're someone who's looking to start a business, looking to get into the business, maybe you don't have a background in painting, and you want some confidence to see really what's possible, these guys have just such an inspiring and cool story. They've got some hilarious stories, and I think you'll really enjoy listening to them. I know I love talking to Carl and Andrew every time I get the chance. So hope you enjoy the episode. Let's jump in. This is the Painting Business Pro Show, where we share inspiring stories from people who are just like you, who have created extraordinary results in their business and their life. We'll take the mystery out of it and show you behind the scenes exactly how these results happen. There's a simple process and a roadmap to follow to create life-changing success in business. You are capable of more than you realize. So listen in, discover what's possible, and let's unlock your potential. Let's go. All right, so I want to welcome Carl and Andrew to the show. And Carl and Andrew, father-son duo, started their business about a year ago, and they've just got an awesome story about how what you guys were doing before you started a painting business, why you chose a painting business, how you went about buying a painting business, and just like how your first year has gone. And so really excited to get into all of this. Why don't you guys start off with saying a little bit about how the business is doing today, 10, almost 11 months in?
Yeah, so almost 11 months in now. We're about 500K for the year so far since January, and started off beginning of the year, really know nothing about any painting stuff. And a lot of it was just the first 3 months learning, and using the resources that we had and some of the course that we had as well, just to learn as much as we can. And then come January, we just hit the ground really running, and just got a ton of work lined up, at least in our perspective. Yeah. And still learning today, but now we're kind of firing all cylinders. We've got another guy with us and 3 crews that we really enjoy having on the team. And for me, I get to do a lot of the sales and meet a lot of people, and that's one of the best things about it.
Yeah, and I do most of the production and quality control, and hired on the subs. When we first started, we had one crew of 3 guys, and we got really busy in the spring. We went up to 4.5 crews there at one point. A little bit of rockiness along those ways. Wound up keeping 2.5 of those crews. And the 2 crews we have now are extremely strong and very profitable, and really represent the company very well, and just great customer experience every single time. Yeah, moving into the fall, probably look at bringing on one more crew, and just for the volume that we're expecting to come in, and just excited about our first year, just kind of figuring out what we didn't know, learning some stuff along the way, and hopefully just ready to really take it to the next level in the next year.
That's great. So it's pretty much all last fall was literally just preparation for the most part, and then really started operating the business in January.
Yeah, we had some more coming in just because we had bought a company that was already existing, from a guy named Smitty, and he had a paint company that was making about $300,000-$400,000, and so he had a client top line revenue, not necessarily for that year. And he had some jobs lined up that we kind of just worked through with him. He stayed on for a while we're kind of learning and getting everything underfoot. So he was also helpful in that transition.
Nice. All right, great. So we'll obviously get into that. And then so before we got on, you mentioned the fall rush that's coming. So what are you guys doing per week or per month right now? And how do you see your year finishing up?
Yeah. So for, on different ends here, I'm starting to get a lot more estimates coming in, and really just kind of making sure my foundation for scalability is there. Sure, I can handle 5-10 estimates a week, But if we get double that, or if we just get a ton in, are we going to be able to handle that, making sure that we're able to scale it up the more we get. So I'm really focusing on that, as well as lead generation and just building foundational principles for our company that will help in the ebb and flows of business.
Yeah,
How many estimates a week are you doing right now?
Probably 10 to 15.
Okay. And what are you selling per week right now?
Somewhere between like 20 and 30.
Okay, so that's huge. And then is that about what you're producing, Carl?
Not right now. We have been at that level, about 20 for a while. The last about month has been a little bit of a slower time. A lot of different reasons why, but a little bit slower time. We dropped down to probably, 10 is probably where we're at on production right now. A lot of people that he sold wanted to wait. A lot of exteriors wanted to wait until cooler weather. It's been pushing 100 degrees down here for a while. So a lot of people wanted to say, hey, can we do it September, October? So we've already got a lot pre-sold for that time frame, and then he's selling more now. So that's why I mentioned that we're going to have to bring on another crew just to keep the volume that we're seeing coming back in. So.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, 20 to 30K a week in sales is, because you guys don't have as significant seasonality as some other markets do. You look at some of the people up north that it's like big time. Even in Colorado, we got some seasonality, but I know, you guys are in Charlotte, and for anyone who didn't know, but yeah, in Charlotte, not a huge turn. It doesn't really slow down that much.
It can vary from year to year, but this year we started painting exteriors in January and have not stopped.
Yeah, which is amazing. I'm jealous.
We've actually had to. The slowest time was in the hottest month. This past month or two has been that's been the time we had to take a small break just because of the heat a little bit. So.
Yeah, that's wild. So, first of all, congratulations. I mean, to be, I think for a startup, I think it's always good to see like what revenue you did for the year, which it sounds like you guys will probably get somewhere between 800 and $1 million at the rate you're going right now, which is great. What's even more exciting to me is always to look at the run rate, where right now you're at 20 to 30K in sales a week. And are you pretty consistent with that? Like, do you feel like that can just kind of be your standard?
I think getting our leads a bit more consistent. Currently, we've gotten a lot of referral business, a ton of referral business, because we really focus on the customer service aspect. And we really push trying to, hey, referrals, like that's just a big thing for us.
Yeah.
And I think for a little bit towards the hottest months, people just didn't want to get painted. And so there was a little bit of a dip there in sales, and it was a little bit slower. And I realized, we can't always just rely on referrals. We need to really up our marketing. So over the summer, I've been focusing on trying to really up that as well. And now I'm starting to get a big uptick in that. So we probably dropped down to about 10 to 10K sales a week towards the summer months. And then as we've gotten the later area, it's gone back up to the 20-30.
Yeah, these last 2 weeks have been really good. I think he did 40K last week, I think.
Wow. Yeah, that's really exciting. I mean, one of the just unsolicited, feedback here would be that one of the biggest mistakes I think we made as a company is we didn't have a really strong referral base and like rate of referrals when we started to scale. And it's so much harder to change the culture, change the systems, change the expectations, change the processes when you get more people. Like the much better way is how do we have this like referral machine when it is just you doing sales and you doing production. And then when you do bring those next people in, training so much that they maintain that level of referrals. I mean, it's just the biggest marketing advantage in the world. Because when you do start pouring paid marketing on there, those new clients you're generating from new marketing turn into referrals, or referrals turn into referrals. It's just like the value per new customer is through the roof. And so that's just really exciting. I'm super excited for you guys to have that happening at this stage.
Yeah, just to that a little bit, like over half our business, probably maybe even 60-75% is referrals, like and repeat. Like it's just, that's why I'm looking at them like, we need to increase our marketing avenues, get in more neighborhoods, because once we are in a neighborhood, man, we do so many houses in that neighborhood. Like it's ridiculous. So
why do you guys think your referral rate is so high?
I think it's because our process is so much better than a lot of people out there. That's what we hear from folks, that
Yeah.
our communication is top notch, our process is top notch, and even our commitment to the customer experience. We've done close to 100 houses this year, which is great for us. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, we do that in a month," but for us, we're really excited about that.
Not
Um,
many people do that in a month.
and so you're gonna have a few that go sideways, but our commitment to making it right no matter what it costs. We've had a few that didn't go perfect, and but we're diligent and follow up. We don't shy away from that. I always let the clients know, hey, you're not bothering me. If you have an issue, please let me know. We're on the same team. That the only person who may want your house to look as good as you do is me, and so you're not bothering me. So please let me know. I want to, anything that's not 100% to your satisfaction, I want to know. I want to fix it. So I think those are things that have impressed people, and just kind of set us apart. And they're like, hey, these guys do a great job. Our prices are not bottom of the barrel, but they're not the highest in town either. So I think it's people see it as a good value, and it's just been pretty successful for us.
Yeah, and outside of culture, which is a huge thing for the company,
Yeah.
I think for us as well, there's some systems just following up with clients, not just the day of the job. All right, see ya, thanks for the check, but check in. Hey, is it still going well? How's that going? And then just like, hey, here's a card that if you give to someone, they get a percentage off. And we'll have a little bit of a coupon for you or something like that. Just a little thank you, just to put it in the back of their minds that, hey, this is really helpful. And if you thought we did good, like the best thing you can possibly do is recommend us. And really just driving that point home is a huge part of it.
How often do you bring that up with customers?
Every time.
I
And
mean, do you
we
bring it up like in the sales process, at the beginning of the job, the end of the job? Is there like how much are you bringing up? How much referrals help you guys out?
So generally the process is referrals will basically be his domain. If it comes up in the sales process, it's because they are a referral and they've gotten the discounted. And so I'm like, okay, hey, by the way, you can do the same thing with your people. But generally, first contact with Carl, they hear about referral, and then the last contact with Carl, it's referral. So,
Nice.
and for us, we total transparency here, we buy referrals. We don't just discount the person that they give the card to. They can put their name on the card, and so when John gives the card to Joe, Joe says, "Oh yeah, I got this card from John." We're like, "Oh great, you get 10% off, and we'll give Joe a $50 gift card." We let people know that. So we've done a lot of business in this retirement home where a lot of people aren't really computer savvy. So we encourage both reviews and referrals in the same. It's on the same card. The QR code's on there along with the referral information, this, that, and the other. In this neighborhood, a lot of people aren't really online. They don't want to, they don't do reviews and stuff. So our reviews are not where we want them to be, but our referrals are, man, they want those $50 gift cards. So they'll definitely, and they're like, hey, can I get a few more? I'm like, hey, here's 5. Yeah, give them all out.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Well, I think it's like everyone wants to know about a referral program, but the most important thing isn't the referral program, it's the customer experience. But if you do have a really good customer experience, then the referral program for sure helps. And that sounds pretty simple, like nothing too crazy. You're basically bringing it up a couple times, maybe a few times throughout their like conversations and interactions with you, and you've got that 10% off and $50, $50 to you for referral. Is there anything else you guys are doing special with referrals?
I think just building it as I think just talking with people and treating each other like people, try and break the tension with people. We try very hard to, well, I at least, it's less so for you, but on the initial contact with me, I try to very much build a relationship with the person, not be salesy. The worst thing to do is come across salesy. And I think people, when they feel that personal connection or like, okay, this guy, he cares a bit more than the guy who came and spent 5 minutes with me and then left. It's going to email me his estimate 3 days later, right? No, I'm going to sit down, go through everything with you. You need to edit anything? You want to add anything? Like, let's talk for an hour and a half and figure out exactly what you want. And so I think that is also part of it is, people feel like they can trust you and they would feel good about recommending you.
Yeah, I think for me, if I'm thinking, what makes it significant is all of our process, but also our subs. Our subs are amazing, and people love them, and they're comfortable with them. They trust them. I mean, they're always feeding them, and so I think that having really good, reliable subs that present well, that paint well, that work neat and clean and respectfully, I think all of that factors in as well. Because
Yeah.
unless somebody's talking to somebody they hate, they're not going to refer you to somebody they like, somebody they're going to have barbecues with, because then they're going to be like, Joe, you told me these painters and they were the worst. Nobody wants to face that.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's great. Question for Andrew, or something you mentioned earlier, Andrew, is because you guys are rocking. I mean, 11 months in, you're probably around 20,000 a week average. You're like $1 million run rate, maybe more. And I just know you guys enough to know like you're doing things right. Like it's picking up. When you mentioned that you're trying to make sure the foundation is good to be able to grow and scale, what are some of the things you're working on?
Yeah. So I think importantly, I kind of realized recently that it's very easy for me to have an idea of how the company should operate in my head, right? I'm one person in my company, and we have at least 3 guys working together. Then we have our painters as well. But like, I do not see eye to eye with the other 2 coworkers all the time. Even if we're looking at the same material, trying to do the same processes, we're just not all eye to eye. And so to skip past some of this talking past each other or miscommunication, I think we've really been trying to, okay, how should a job from getting the lead to, all right, good meeting you, let us know if you have anything, here's a referral card. What is everything happening here? And so we're working on like laying all that out exactly, and then just going into super in depth. And if we can do that one time and just have it there, we can have something easy to refer back to. And so that we're all on the same page. Like, okay, this didn't get done in this process for this job. Why is that? Right? Are we miscommunicating here or not? But if we don't have something to refer back to, it's a bit more nebulous. Like, oh, well, I thought this was getting done by you, but I guess it's not. And so we need to figure that out, right? So we're just trying to build that foundation so that not only are the future employees that we hire that are going to be doing our jobs going to have a good outline, but also us are going to be able to know exactly, okay, we need to do this, this, this. Not necessarily as like a robotic, but these main points need to get hit. And then from there, we can assess if we're doing that properly or not.
It's just such a smart thing to do that I think a lot of people don't do, because you guys are in this position right now where things are going really well. And where am I going to put my time next? And where I think a lot of people go at this stage is they're like, more, it's all right, let's do the marketing, hire a sales rep and like grow, which I think would actually be the mistake. I think what you're doing is really smart, that it's like, hey, actually slow this down. Let's get this fine tuned. Let's get this documented and systemized so that when we bring on that sales rep, they're going to be able to actually do what you do, Andrew. And let's bring on that next production manager. They're going to be able to do what Carl does to keep like that quality and that healthy growth happening. It's just so worth doing, because eventually you're going to have a number of employees in those positions, so kudos to you guys just for doing it right, and having the patience to like slow down and do it right.
It's definitely tempting to just get a sales rep and throw more money into marketing, right? Like, I'm not going to say it hasn't crossed my mind, but I look at it and I'm like, okay, what am I going to teach this guy? Like, I need to know exactly how I operate, because I'm not gonna lie, before I started writing all this stuff out, I just went and did estimates, and like, I did them, and then I get home and I'm like, okay, I think that was I think I did good. I have no clue what I did, to be honest. I think I followed the principles I set for myself, but how can I know for sure unless I can reference back to something? So
we had a good example of someone who was successful at their job that couldn't really explain what they did very well in the past. So I think that has helped us incentivize us to not land in that boat as we bring on new people.
Yeah, got it. So just to jump back a little bit, so again, congrats on the success. Super excited for you guys and the foundation you're
Thank you.
building. And it's only 10 months in, and a year from now, it's going to be a whole new world for you. I know. You guys want to? I'd love to just just dig a little bit into like before you got in the painting business. So for anyone who's just listening in, you guys didn't have a background in painting. You actually had a pretty interesting business you were doing before this. And then so yeah, why don't you guys share a little bit about what was the name of the company again? I can't. Yeah, just share a little bit about your last business.
Yeah, the company was called Vaxvan. I'll get to there. Back up a little further. My background: I was a retail pharmacist for 25 years.
Yeah.
CVS, Walgreens, those guys bounced around a little bit. Um, Loved it for a long time, and then didn't for about the last 10 years. Corporate culture
10
really
years.
shifted in that industry. Yeah. First 15 was great. I mean, it's very fulfilling. I mean, I love the career, I love the profession. Helped a lot of people, and was very, very satisfied. And then corporate culture just changed that industry dramatically, and went from a pharmacy care to strict volume business. And I just looked around one day and was like, I really don't belong here anymore. But it's highly compensated. Didn't really see an easy way to transition into something different. So kind of felt trapped there. Now, next thing I know, 10 years later, it's even worse. And so really the impetus to do something different was COVID. In 2020, it came down and they said, hey, we're gonna buy this. The White House wrote a check for 100 million doses of this vaccine that didn't exist. And none of us pharmacists, none of us believed it was going to happen. And we're like, well, that's never going to be a thing. And like, oh, so they just wrote a check for 100 million doses. Somebody believes it's going to happen. So maybe it is. So I started doing some math. I'm like, it's 300 something million people. Everybody won't get the shot. Let's say 250 million people get a shot. That's 2 shots each, 500 million shots that somebody's got to give next year. The only people that can give it are doctors, nurses, and pharmacists. And we're all busy. There's no way. So I got kind of discouraged. And then it's like, well, maybe this is an opportunity. Nobody knew how it was going to roll out or play out. Long story short, took a kind of a step of faith and quit my job. Finagled my way, figured out how to get into the government pipeline, and we started our own company doing shots and tests for COVID. Right place, right time. Turned out to be a real home run for us for a couple of years. He was actually in school, and they went to remote learning. I'm like, well, you're not going to learn anything remotely, And he's like, I kind of like to do what you're doing. I said, well, hey, you can always go back and finish that if you want to. Yeah, come on, let's see. I don't know if this will work or not, but you'll probably learn some stuff along the way, whether it's successful or not. So he, quit his schooling in college and came on to work with us with just the two of us, and we quickly grew to like 50 employees at our largest position, and went all over the country. Had some corporations fly us around to, take care of their needs, and worked with a lot of, movie stars and stuff. They had strict testing regulations, and so we were able to really just find solutions for people. And that turned out to be kind of a knack that we had to figure out how to identify, situations and be able to work out solutions for those unique things. So COVID all went away. I'm glad it did. But with that, the business went away. So we kind of looked at each other and said, what's next?
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm not going back to CVS. I'm not doing that. And he said, yeah, I don't want to go back to school either. So we started looking around and, tried to identify what skills that we had, what were the skills that made us successful. And then where do we think we could maybe apply those? Yeah. So we decided we wanted to buy a business. So I started to educate myself about that process, learning kind of how to do that, how it went. We actually tried to buy a couple other businesses before the painting business came along, and those people ultimately decided not to sell, so no problem. But I did learn a lot through those processes. Yeah. And then, Smitty was a retired New York fireman and moved to Charlotte, started painting 20 years ago, and a few years ago he hired some other guys to help him paint, and so he just kind of, ran the business and did a little painting from time to time. Had a good book of business. And wasn't asking for the moon. So we met and talked, and he had some other people interested in buying the business, but he liked us the best, and thought that we would take good care of his customers for him and take good care of his painters. And so we were able to strike a deal ultimately. And he stayed on to kind of help us. And that was that was what it was. But we quickly learned that we needed a little more help and assistance than what he was able to supply, because we didn't want to keep doing estimates on legal pads with Sharpies. That was working for him, but we wanted to be able to scale a little bit bigger. So we got some coaching through Painting Business Pro, and really knew nothing about painting. I'd painted a few rooms in my house over the years because I was too cheap to hire anybody. but ultimately, we just listened to the people who had done what we wanted to do and told us what they told us to do.
Were you gonna say something, Andrew?
Oh, I was going to say those rooms he painted were painful to look at nowadays.
Yeah, and he's not a good painter. That's okay. So I'm just curious, what were the other businesses that you were looking at before you got to the painting business?
Sure. So one was a school fundraising business. And there was a franchise opportunity there. Ultimately, we did try to strike on our own with that, and got some help on that. Town didn't go anywhere in the market we're in. And then I'm really glad we didn't buy a franchise. That would have been a huge disaster for us financially and a huge mistake. But fortunately, I learned and saw landmines before we committed to that. Some folks are not so fortunate. And then there was a small photography business that a friend that we knew through another friend was selling, and then decided not to sell. And then one was a Rita's Italian Ice franchise that the owners were thinking about selling, and we knew them pretty well. And but ultimately, again, they decided not to sell, decided to keep it. I think during and after COVID, a lot of business owners had a lot of uncertainty, so a lot of people were contemplating selling. And then as things got a little bit back to normal, I think they decided, well, maybe it's not the end of the world as we know it, and you can get back to some level of normalcy. So
painting wasn't really on the radar. The radar was, let's find a business that we can excel at, because we were pretty confident in our skills of at least management of a sort. I knew that I've always kind of been like, I'm going to learn everything possible. So I just need to find something and then just dive in and learn as much as I can about a business. So I was pretty confident, as long as it wasn't like super technical. I could pretty much learn the ropes really quickly. And, I could really handle the business side of things very easily. And Carl had a very good handle on, how to help customers and treat customers with just right, and also just a lot of background in that. So we were pretty confident. We just needed to find something that really worked for us. And the other things we did try, and they just didn't have a lot of traction, I guess.
Yeah. And, I don't know how much you want to get into it, but, we had some criteria. I did anyway, as far as things we wanted to look for. I wanted something that wasn't going to be displaced by technology or AI anytime soon. I don't think there'll be robots painting people's houses anytime soon. We wanted something that, didn't have a lot of consolidation. Some people said, why don't you just keep up with your pharmacy stuff? There's a lot of reasons for that. But really, outside of COVID, if you weren't CVS, Walgreens, or Walmart, it was going to be very difficult for you to operate a pharmacy. I mean, 20 years ago, there were tons of independent pharmacies, mom and pop shops, but those have all been consolidated. Painting, $50 billion, depending on where you look, roughly $50 billion industry. And I don't think any single company's got more than 1 or 2% of the market. So there's definitely, a lot of room for a new company to come along and do quite well.
Yeah. I mean, that even might be generous, 1 or 2%, or maybe CertaPro.
Yeah. I had seen some articles that said, CertaPro is the biggest, but they're like franchises. So, if you, aggregate all of them, they might be 1 to 2%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Super segmented. It's nuts. Were there any other criteria you were looking for?
Probably those are the kind of the ones that come to mind right off the top of my head.
Yep.
Things that obviously, didn't require a lot of, technical certifications, expertise, things like that. Outside of pharmacy, if you have to bring on somebody who is the licensed professional, then that's going to be a big chunk off your bottom line every single year. And there's no way around that. So that was something, painting doesn't really have that barrier. We liked the idea of a cash flowing business. It wasn't necessarily there was another big thing, honestly. Hey, we're in Charlotte. How can we capitalize on where we are geographically? You know, this is when the housing market was slowing down, but people were still moving by the hundreds every day to Charlotte. And every time people move here, usually is going to be painting, selling, and buying. You know, and so as people are continuing to grow, you know, anything like that, you know, even if there are a saturation of painters right now, well, there's hundreds of people moving here all the time. So even if you just keep the numbers of painters flat, you're not going to be able to keep up with the demand that's going to be there. So it's a growing market, and certainly the trades and painting, you know, fit that criteria. So yeah, there are probably others, but those are the ones that.
And then how did you come across painting? Was it literally seeing like Smitty's job, you know, I had to sell his business, or like how did you end up on looking at painting?
Yeah, so as we were looking for businesses in general, there is a website, you know, it's kind of like an MLS for businesses where people actually they can, you know, hire brokers to advertise their businesses, just like a real estate broker will advertise people's homes or properties. There are places like that for businesses as well. And so we started kind of perusing those, and I got some other coaching and stuff for buying businesses, and he connected me with some other resources and things. So we just kind of began looking, and obviously when you start looking at that, you're going to see, you know, the gamut of business out there. So we began to say, oh, that's a business. Oh, I didn't know this is a business. There was one guy selling a business. All he did was go around and calibrate other people's, you know, measuring devices, scales and thermometers. All he did was he went and, you know, and like, you know, medical and food, and they wasn't just enough to have a thermometer on it. You have to have that thermometer certified every 2 years, and that's what he did. He would go around. So there's more businesses than you'd ever know about.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So
I feel like every week you'd come to me and be like, "So yeah, we've got like the leopard seeking business and the chair leg repair business and and I'm just like,
hey,
bro, I thought we were gonna choose a business that was like normal. I didn't realize there was all this stuff to look at. They're all selling because what is this, man? Like, there's some crazy businesses. Yeah.
That's really funny.
Hey, I just wanted something that's going to make money, you know, that we could be successful at. You know, I got wife and kids to provide for. You know, he's got a wife and, you know, his own now. So I just wanted something that we could do together, you know, as you know, as a pharmacist for years, he never really had an interest in medical or even really much in science. So I never thought we'd get a chance to work together. So after VaxVan, and I said, man, if there's a way we can find a way to work together, that'd be like a dream come true for me. Now he's probably like, I'm tired of this old guy, but you know, for me, you know, that was something I wanted to do, find a place where we could really, you know, complement each other, support each other, and just, you know, find a lot of success together.
Oh yeah.
I love it. No, dude, I love it. So is that where you ultimately saw the painting business was on the?
Yeah. He was listing there. He did not have a broker, which is a good thing. Brokers really complicate that process significantly, but you can list them on there for sale by owner. And so he was listing that way. And some other people had seen it, and he had, you know, been in some talks with them. In fact, he wasn't super responsive to me. And I was like, what, are you trying to sell it or not? And he finally said, okay, honestly, I'm meeting a guy today. I think he's probably going to make me an offer. So I didn't want to string you along. And I said, hey, no problem. But you know, if he hasn't given you, you know, earnest money or anything like that, then I would think you'd still want to talk to other, you know, interested parties. You never know if he's a shopper or a buyer. And if, you know, you ignore us, then you may lose a buyer while you're spending all your time with a shopper, and then you still don't have a sale. And he's like, hey, that makes a lot of sense. I kind of like what you're saying there. And so he met with the guy, and the guy kind of made him mad. I really don't know to this day exactly what the guy said. I should ask Smitty sometime. What did he say that made you mad?
Yeah.
I never did revisit that, but he called me. It's like, you know, that guy made me mad. Let's sit down and talk. And so, yeah.
That's awesome.
I think the first time we sat down and talked with him, it was like 2-3 hours.
First time, every time.
Yeah, true. Every time we sit down and talk to them, he loved to talk, and this guy.
I'm a good listener.
Feed into it every time. Dude, I'm sitting here like, man, we're supposed to be like doing a business here. How are we talking about like the latest concert we did or like, man, we need to. Yeah. So
I didn't even tell you this. I spent an hour and a half with the client yesterday on the final walkthrough. Turns out he couldn't think of where he knew me from. And he asked how I got into painting. I told him about VaxVan. He said, were you up in Concord? This guy was an hour and a half from where our office was. And he had said He was trying to get on a flight. He couldn't get a test. Nobody had an appointment. He called us. He drove to Concord. He said, "That's where I knew you from."
I gotta remember that story.
Wow.
That's crazy. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, it just happened yesterday. So
That's crazy.
What do you guys think VaxVan did for you with your what did you learn there scaling that company? Because that's pretty big. I mean, to scale from 0 to 50 employees and then like this booming business and then like to disappear is a pretty wild ride to be on. What are the things you took from that? Yeah.
I'm gonna be completely honest, Eric.
Yeah.
I feel like I learned almost nothing from VaxVan. It was such a lightning in the bottle, man. Like everything was just like, oh, I guess we just have this job in our laps now. Like, oh, I guess everything is just working out, you know? And look, compared to the business we have now, which is much more like, you know, stable and like normal. Like I look back at that and I was like, I had no clue what I was doing. Like I got to learn a little bit more about, you know, how to manage a business behind the scenes. But again, things were always shifting for me on my end. Things were always changing. It was always like, oh, well, this person, you know, this person is wanting this. You know, we have this client and we've got this huge contact. There was a lot of infrastructure building just on the spot because we would get called to like a facility and do their whole team, right? And so what I was doing a lot of times was like planning a lot of that, just like, oh, okay, we're going to be here. What does the outline of everything look like? How is this going to operate? And then making sure that manages smoothly. And then I was also just in charge of the employees and all that. So I don't know. For me, I don't know about you. I never really asked you this question, but for me, I felt like when I jumped into the painting industry, I was like, okay, hold on. I've got to like have SOPs? What is this, man? I just thought I just banged these things out and did them. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so for me, it was totally different. I had to manage a lot of the building and stuff because it was technical. You know, it was a medical thing, and so I had the expertise in that. I had the license. I had to be the one. So he just kind of came along and helped me as best he could. And sometimes I couldn't even tell him what I needed him to do. You know, there was a lot of 4-hour nights of sleep, and that was it. And I was, you know, down at 12 midnight and up at 4 a.m. and just it was crazy time. But and now I'm thinking, anybody's ever asked me that question, Eric? So I had to stop and think for a second. But I'll tell you, things that come to mind. First, I just gave me the confidence that everything's figure-outable.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what COVID was going to be and do and how it was going to roll out. And it changed 20 times along the way,
right.
Sometimes twice in the same day. And I'm like, you know, if we just are committed to taking care of people and doing the right by people, then whatever they need, then, you know, it's figure outable. We can do it. It's not magic. You don't have to have, you don't have to be a CVS or a Walgreens. You have to be, anybody can do business. Anybody can. And, you know, we had big contracts. We can bid $1 million contract and win it. That's what I learned. You know, that you provide a good service, that you're just talking to people, whether you're talking to a company or an organization with a, you know, $5 billion a year budget, or whether you're talking to a widow woman down the street who just needs a test so she can go visit her grandkids. You know, they're all just people. They also have their needs. And if you, you know, treat them like you'd want your own family treated and meet their needs where they are, hey, good things are going to come. So it just gave me the confidence. I'd never been in business before. I always worked for, you know, somebody else. And that was always good for a long time. And so coming out of that and doing that, I just realized, you know, we could succeed in other things too.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely the biggest thing for me was lighting a spark of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And, you know, growing up, we always hosted everything at our house. And I always done the planning for events because, you know, my dad and mom didn't want me going out to all these random parties that, you know, had no supervision. So if we hosted the parties at my place, that you know, we could have everything, child friendly at that point. And so I grew up just being the host and planning everything and organizing a lot. So that was a very big strength of mine. And that I learned in business that was a very important thing for a large portion of businesses. So yeah, that kind of
teams, anticipating needs, logisticating, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And just not being so like focused on yourself, but rather everyone involved, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's not just me at this company? It's Carl, Logan, painters. Like, how is everyone working together, and the clients? Like, just kind of being mindful of everyone is a big part.
Well, I think it's what I love about what you shared there is everything is figure outable, and I know you guys are just so people focused, in your business, and what you just said, that hey, if you just like, people have needs, there's people who just take care of people, and everything's figure outable. I'm like, and that's business. Like that's so much of it right there. And then obviously there's all the stuff you figure out that is figure outable, but it does simplify business, I think, quite a bit when you look at it like that.
Yeah, our first client was a large auto manufacturer. I can say their name. I think Volvo Mack Trucks. They were hosting their 5-year union talks with UAW in Charlotte, and it's right in the middle of COVID. And they called me because they were trying to figure out how to do it safely so they could have people in town meeting and doing these talks, hammering these talks out in the middle of COVID. And nobody at the other companies that provided services would call them back. They were all too busy. And so I took his call, and he's like, hey, my name's so-and-so. I'm with Volvo Mack Trucks. I'm thinking, okay, does this sound like a voice I know? Am I getting punked? And because it was the first money that we made, and it was very significant. And they called me. They came looking for the service that we had offered, and that was very encouraging to me. That realized, hey, we have a service that people are going to need, and he was looking to me to be the expert. He didn't know. He didn't know that nobody knew. He thought I knew.
Yeah.
So
I remember walking in the first time we did it. We were like walking in. Dad's like, all right, we're going to set it up like this, and this is going to make sense, and I think this is the best way to do it. And, the guy comes in, and he's like, all right, so how do we do it? And I was like, oh, don't even worry about it. It's going to make perfect sense. This is it. And I'm just like, we've never done this before. But just, we had confidence in it, and we knew we were going to treat people well. So
that's awesome. So how do you guys moving into the painting business? I know one question I think a lot of people would have that could relate with you is, so you got into the painting business and you didn't know anything about painting. How did you learn and you're doing a phenomenal job, and you're getting loads of referrals, and you're not, and you're really involved in the business. And so how did you learn what you needed to learn and, be able to actually run this business?
Okay. Do you want to? Okay, I'll tell you. I'll answer that two ways.
Yeah.
One way, what we expected, and then one way, the reality.
Yeah.
Because what we expected was, as we sold, as we were talking to Smitty and, negotiating, part of the contract was that he would stay on for a period of anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 months to help us learn what we needed to learn. Because I knew I didn't know anything about it, but this guy's been doing it for 20 years. I mean, certainly he can tell me what we need to know, right? So yeah. I'm like, hey, as long as I got that written in the contract, we'll be good to go.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to actually signing the papers. We haven't started signing the papers yet, dragging the feet a little bit. And I'm like, well, hey, Smitty, why don't I go ahead and start riding along with you some while you're doing these? That way I can go ahead and get a leg up on this. And he's like, okay. So we start riding around, and, he's schmoozing the customers, and they love him, and, it's all working out great. And I realize we come away, and I'm like, I have no idea what he just did except talk for a while. And did we get the job? I'll let you know in a few days. I'm like, okay. So it was very, very mystifying, and go ahead, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, dragging our feet a bit. And I'm like, yo, Dad, we got to get an estimate, man. Like, this is the biggest part. Like, and so we just, and he's like, all right, fine. We'll go today. And like, he sees that schmoozing. He's like, all right. He takes a look at a couple things. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'll have that for you here in a few minutes.
Few days.
Sorry, a few days.
I'll text it to you.
I didn't even see all the rooms. Like what? Like what do we? Yeah.
So the first one, I kind of took it in. Then the next one, I'm like, okay, listen. I've seen you do this a couple times. I got to be honest. I'm not really understanding what's going on inside your head. So if you could maybe let me inside your head and see what's going on, then that'll be great. So we go, same thing, yellow legal pad, Sharpie. He's writing down some scribbled notes, and all right, we'll get to you. So we go out there, And normally he would write up his estimates on the weekend and send them all over. So if this is Tuesday, he wouldn't write the estimate until Saturday. That was kind of his day off from painting. So he'd write it all up then. And I said, hey, can we do it right now? While it's fresh in my mind so I can see. He's like, yeah, sure. Okay. So this would be 400. How'd you get that? I'm trying to break it down. He's like, I just know. So I'm like, hey, Smitty, that's great. But listen, unless you want to continue to be our estimator for the next 10 years, you got to teach us this. Yeah, well, you just have to learn it over time. You just have to kind of pick. I said, well, I don't think you want to be doing estimates for the next 2 years while I learn it. You've been doing this 20 years. So I didn't pressure him too much. I said, okay, no problem. But I realized we probably need some more help. So we began to look for some coaching programs online. And there's a bunch of them. And so we kind of waded through different ones. And we did finally decide on Painting Business Pro. And that's where we learned. We just said, okay, Eric's built a multi-million-dollar business. He's done what we're trying to do. And he's willing to show us and teach us what he did. Let's just do it. So we didn't know enough to, second guess or to try to fix things you had done wrong. We just kind of did it. And, it's kind of worked for us.
Yeah. To that point as well, especially like the other businesses we had kind of looked at and tested the waters on, we also had, similar, not nearly as in depth as the course we had for painting, but
some coaches
and stuff. And, it kind of reinforced my attitude of, look, there's a lot of professionals of everything, and I need to shut up and listen to them, because I'm going to save myself so much time and so much headache in learning if I listen to the people who know it and who have messed up and failed, but also have grown from it. Like, I need to not assume I know better than them. And I think that was that mixed with our knowledge of needing some teaching to speed things up. Really was a boon to us.
Well, and that really wasn't a question to tee up Painting Business Pro. It kind of went there, but it was. I know all the business side of things. Obviously, like we work together, and I know you guys have been following that to a T, and it's been working. And I've been seeing on webinars and events and all that stuff. What about the painting side of it? Because I don't teach the, types of paint and the types of prep and the that side of it. And I have my reasons for why I don't do that, because I think that information is available in a lot of different places. But obviously, you guys do your research, you do your homework, you don't step over things, you do things the right way. Like, how did you learn that side of this business?
So for quality control, basically, I think that's what you're asking. How did we learn to get actually execute the paint jobs once they've been sold? Is that what you're asking?
Partly that, and just like knowledge, and just where did you learn about paint, learn about prep, what are the problems, what are the solutions, that whole side, that more craftsman, more the trade side of it than, I'm a lot more the business side of it, and say, hey, there's all these other resources to learn that. So I'm just curious how you guys approach that.
I think we also got in touch with a really good rep from Sherwin-Williams. His name's Casey. He's awesome. And he was very knowledgeable about, just materials, about, just also the general atmosphere and market in Charlotte. He was awesome. And we talked with him a lot. And, when we first met him, we walked into the store, and after just talking and listening to everything, and I was literally taking notes from him, he was like, yeah, we had a couple of guys who started a business, and they were just like you when they came in about 2 years ago, and now they're doing $2 million a year or something like that. So I have high hopes for you guys. And he was super great for just learning material stuff.
Yeah, that's something we didn't even know existed when we were embarking on the process, and it just sort of found out it was just a providential, happy coincidence that we went in there, because he doesn't work out of the store generally. He just happened to be there the day we went to set up a new business account with Smitty. Yeah. And Smitty didn't really use a lot of Sherwin-Williams. He used a lot of Lowe's or whatever paint. And so we decided we were going to try to transition to Sherwin-Williams just because of the customer experience that put out on the front end. That, hey, this is the paint we use, and people like that. And he just spoke of our quality. And so then Casey happened to be in that store that day. Otherwise, we may have, I don't know if we would have ever met him, or gotten in touch with the email or something, we probably would have, thrown the trash and moved on. But so he was there, and yeah, just really provided a lot of information. He's been out to job sites for us. He's helped us figure out issues with paint when it didn't act like we thought it should, make recommendations on different surfaces and things. So yeah, he's been a wealth of knowledge. Even the Sherwin-Williams manager has been helpful as well, Kay, and Smitty has been there to provide, and some of the painters that he had, those guys have provided kind of a baseline as well. And so we've tried to, we want to hear from everybody who's willing to speak into the business, and that can be a two-edged sword, because I have to let people know, listen, I want to hear what you have to say, but I need you to not get upset if I don't always take your opinion as gospel.
Yeah.
Particularly, one of our painters, he can be very opinionated, and I like that. And but sometimes when I don't take it, he gets upset, and I was like, listen, please don't stop sharing your opinions and your wisdom. I want to hear them. I just need you to not get upset if I decide to go a different direction, because ultimately it's I have to make that decision, but I want to get as much wisdom and input as people as I can.
Yeah. So yeah, it's great. That answers the question. I mean, is there anything you've done? So Schmitty, painters, Sherwin-Williams, your reps there, a manager there. Have there been was there anything else that you guys utilized? Was there anything on YouTube or the PCA or anything else that you utilized to start to understand the trade and the craft of painting?
A little bit. I got exposed to PCA actually recently, and that's helped us with some of our language as far as setting expectations with clients and things like that. And then, Facebook group, it's always good if we can put questions in there and usually get answers to pretty quickly. So that's been helpful.
The Painting Business Pro one, or are there other ones that you utilize too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, that's the only one we really utilize. Is we try to ask people who, have some level of, you never know who's going to reply if you just put on a general YouTube video or something. So try to, get a little bit of trusted.
Some of those more public groups are pretty good for some of the technical side of painting. I know even like Paul will use it from time to time. Hey, we ran into this weird thing. It's this surface. We use this product. This is what's happening. And it's like amazing how many people will chime in there. So like painters who really know the trade, like that, painting contractors group, and there's some others. I think you get a lot of really good stuff there. Now you'll see a lot of different stuff, so you got to kind of wade through it. But I think that's a good resource too. And so, I just really wanted to dig into this for anybody who's like, I'm getting into this, but don't have the experience, and like, how do I learn? It's like, there's resources. Like, it's not rocket science, Now it takes a lot of time to become a really great painter and actually doing that labor. But for what you need to know to estimate a job properly and see the problems and sell the job, and what you need to do, Carl, to support the painters and make sure a good job is delivered, like that's all very figure outable.
Yeah, I would also just stress that having good connections with other painters in your area, like, don't shy away from that. Again, like, there is plenty of businesses to go around in painting. Like, I know 3 or 4 different painting companies around us. Some of them are in the group already. Some of them we just know. And, I'll literally call them on the phone once a month or something like that and talk to them and literally just exchange information back and forth to help both of us. Because ultimately, like, there's so much work there. It's not a big deal. And ultimately, I will gain so much knowledge just hearing what other people are doing, so that I can either, decide if that's going to be useful to the business and all that stuff. So that's another tool, is just don't be afraid of the competition.
Yeah. Great. So now that you guys are in the business, you had kind of you met Schmitty and you saw the opportunity, and then you got started, and now you're like a year into it. What's your view of this business, this industry, this opportunity now that you're in it?
I'm more excited than ever, quite honestly, because we've had a lot of success, and we have we're just kind of at the floor right now.
Yeah.
I can't see us ever really, doing less business than this, and I see only upside from here. I don't know where the ceiling's going to be, but I can't see it from here. So I'm very excited about the future. For all the reasons that we came and got involved, they've all kind of panned out, and so I think that we're just now starting to figure out what we're actually doing. So if we've been able to stumble along for 10 months, not really knowing anything, I'm excited about the next year when we, have a little bit better idea of what we're doing and where we want to go. And then from there, just to be able to scale. So I'm just, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, there's been so many things I've learned along the way and grown, but I think how excited am I is what you asked. I'm also extremely excited because I think it's so much different than in Vaxvan, where Vaxvan, I felt again it was a flash in the pan. Like everyone kind of knew, everyone knew, like yeah, right. Everyone kind of knew it was like, all right, it's gonna end up at some point. All this awesomeness can't last forever, and so it wasn't really built to necessarily be that, right? It was always kind of like, all right, let's put stuff together on the fly according to the needs. This, I'm feeling like we're building foundation. We're doing like life-changing stuff just so that this company can operate at a baseline efficiency of we're going to do well and we're going to treat people well. And then once that baseline is built, I'm already pretty happy, but then who knows how much more it's going to grow. And like you said, the ceiling, it's so far up, Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Is there anything else that you guys feel like? I think we covered a lot. I just love your guys' story. I love all your guys' energy. I love how you take care of customers. I love everything about you guys and your business and what you're doing. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd want to share with anybody who's listening or watching?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of things that I think just like some things that I've learned. I spoke a little bit about it. Just some big things that I think have really helped me. Might help people similar in my shoes, especially as a younger guy. Now this comes off a little weird at first, but not a lot of people don't know what they're doing. And in a way that's comforting because there's not this huge barrier to entry. And at one point in my life, I was like, so many people with so much wisdom and they've all been here a lot longer. And, who am I to think I can just make this business, right? Well, almost everyone's still learning and growing as well, no matter what age they're in. Some people have big breakthroughs as they get older. Some people have, start young. And it was not a very good mindset for me to have, oh, everyone else is already doing better than me. And that was a real downer. So I just think, don't assume things about other people, treat everyone with respect. But like a lot of people are just kind of still growing and learning and they don't have it all figured out. And I think for me, that's given me a lot more confidence to just, all right, I'm going to stick to the basics, do what I know works and continue to build a foundation for myself. I don't even need to worry about what the other people are doing. I don't even need to think about what they're doing because it doesn't really matter. If I'm doing something that works, then the other people, they can do their thing. But as long as it's working for me, okay, they got the job over me here. It's fine, There's so many different reasons that could have happened. I'm going to now look at myself and make sure, I'm doing the best I can. But just for me, it was important to realize that in a way, we're all human. We're all learning and all growing. And then the second thing would just be the business has really forced me to become a lot more disciplined in general. And I'm just a lot more efficient, I'm really big on like planning my schedule out now and just having things planned and be a bit more disciplined. And those two things have really contributed a lot for me in the past year.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah. And I think if we're talking about things that, lessons we've learned, I'm older, obviously. Not my first rodeo. It's not my first time around the block, so to speak. So a lot of the things that we've experienced, I kind of expected. I think some things I've really had to one thing particularly I've really had to change and sort of break out of my mindset is, what you might call like a mindset of scarcity or fear, that there's not enough, you need more, that there's never going to be enough to go around. And, it's just really a hard way to operate successfully. It's really a hard way to thrive, when you have that attitude. Um, Initially, I guess I did, but then I just kind of learned that, there's way more paint jobs out there than we could ever do. We need other painters in Charlotte. We can't do all the painting. So there doesn't need to be a competitive things. I mean, I want to be the best. I want to be better than everybody else, but it doesn't have to be to the point of, fearful. Oh, they're going to get the job. Well, if they get the job, they get the job. There's 10 more out there. Let me go find another one. They'll probably get 2 of those too. We just need 8 of them, and then as far as, when we make $1, oh, we gotta save this for a rainy day, and we can't spend any money. And well, sometimes you got to spend some money. So you want to have another job next month, maybe you got to spend on some marketing, and there's going to be cash flow. There's going to be more jobs coming out there. And so you just got to go get them. And so, I don't know that I grew up, in a very frugal household. I've tried to run a pretty frugal household. And so I think that has served me well. I'm not going to say I regret any of that. But I think that, pushing back against that, again, that scarcity mindset has been really helpful for me to realize that, if I'm seeing another fellow painter in the paint store, let me just introduce myself. I'm going to probably be more encouraged to hear his story and to be able to unload some stress that I'm feeling with a fellow guy who actually gets it than I would ever have to worry about losing a job to this guy. And who knows, maybe we'll work together at some point down the line, and so just getting out of that and to realizing that there's way more business out there than we could ever, deliver on our own.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Pretty freeing.
Well, yeah, say that again.
And that's a pretty freeing realization. Gives you a lot of freedom when you realize that.
Oh, it's I know a lot of people in the painting business, and there's no one out there who's not growing because of the competition. Like we're all not, my business is not bigger right now because I haven't gotten good enough at marketing. My business isn't big enough now because fill in the blank. Like there's so much room we have to improve. It's like, come to me when you can't get any better at marketing, any better at sales, any better at production. And then you can say, and you just can't get better. Then, you could say, hey, there's competition, but man, how far do you have to go? How big is your business going to be before it's like competition is stopping the growth? And that's what's exciting. I don't know. I mean, it's talking about not being able to see the ceiling. Yeah, us either. There's some companies out there that do incredible amounts of revenue in single markets that run circles around us. And it's a big business and it's only getting bigger. Paint prices aren't going down next year.
Nope.
They're not demoing houses next year. So yeah, the opportunity is cool. And I just I appreciate you guys for doing this. I love talking to you guys. It was a pleasure meeting you at the last event, and just so happy for you guys and your growth and the business you're building over there. So yeah, thanks for doing this. Thanks for sharing the story. I love hearing your guys' stories every time. There's always like you just got such a great story. So thank you guys so much for doing this.
Hey, Eric, thank you for everything. Like I say, we wouldn't be where we are without, your, the help that you provide to us. We would still be thumbing along, trying to learn from
the paint whisperer.
That's what we affectionately dubbed Smitty, the paint whisperer, because there was no, he just felt it, like the, so,
I love that guy.
So if we can give back in any way, we're happy to do that.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate,
it's always really comforting to have people in your industry to talk to. Like, no, whatever industry you're in watching, like, don't take that for granted. Like, your competitors know almost exactly what you're going through. Like, they are going to be people that understand you the best, and you will have great relationships with them if they're open to it. So definitely don't take that for granted.
It's beautiful. All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you very much, and I'll see you guys soon.
All right. See you, Eric.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the show. I hope you found it valuable. We make these episodes in the show for you, truly. So your feedback is super valuable to us, whether it's, things you liked, things you didn't like, what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. Any feedback you can give us is going to be super helpful as we continue to evolve and improve the show over time. And if you want a copy of the Fast Growth Roadmap for Painting Contractors, which really simplifies the steps you take to building a business, we've got that resource for free for you. Just check the description or the bio where you're watching or listening to this episode, and you can just click and download that for free, and it should help give you a good roadmap for how to build and scale your business like the people that you're listening to on the show. So thanks for listening in. We'll see you soon.